of my restaurant! Dare you bring that baby here? This is outrageous!
The chandeliers shimmered like diamonds above white linen tables. Silverware glistened. Soft piano music drifted through the air. It was the kind of restaurant where power brokers closed million-dollar deals and politicians whispered promises over aged wine. And in the middle of that polished elegance, a single sound shattered everything. A sharp crack, a slap, so loud it silenced an entire dining room. A black mother stood frozen, her baby clutched tightly against her chest. Across from her, a furious hostess in a tailored green suit trembled with rage, her hand still raised in the air. Guests gasped. A police officer near the entrance turned his head. Cameras from nearby tables subtly lifted. The hostess screamed for her to leave. What she didn't know, what nobody in that room knew, was that one phone call was about to change everything. Before we continue, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to Black Legacy for more powerful stories that expose injustice and reveal truth. Because what happened next wasn't just karma. It was a reckoning. The restaurant was called the Grand Meridian. It stood in the heart of downtown, an institution known for exclusivity. Reservations were booked weeks in advance. Celebrities, city officials, CEOs, and visiting dignitaries filled its velvet chairs nightly. Crystal chandeliers hung like crowns over carefully curated tables. Servers moved with rehearsed precision, and at the front entrance stood Olivia Whitmore. At 32, Olivia had built her entire identity around status. She came from old money, or at least what she liked to call old money. Her father had been a mid-level real estate developer. Her mother ran charity galas that photographed well, but rarely changed lives. Olivia grew up believing appearances were everything. The Grand Meridian was her stage. As lead hostess, she controlled who entered and who waited, who was welcomed with a smile, who was quietly told there were no tables available. She wore tailored emerald suits that hugged her frame sharply, her dark hair pulled into a sleek ponytail. She practiced her posture in mirrors. She measured guests in seconds, watched shoes, tone of voice. She believed she could read worth on sight. That Saturday night was one of the busiest of the season. A charity dinner for city investors filled the back hall. A local councilman sat near the window. Two off-duty officers enjoyed a quiet meal near the bar. The atmosphere shimmered with wealth and quiet power. And then the door opened. In walked a woman in a simple but elegant purple dress, carrying a baby wrapped in soft yellow fabric. Her hair was braided neatly, her posture calm and composed. She moved with quiet dignity. Her name was Naomi Carter. Naomi wasn't dressed in designer labels, but her clothes were immaculate. She wore pearl studs. No flashy jewelry, just grace. She had made a reservation under her own name. She wasn't there to impress anyone. She was there to celebrate. Earlier that week, Naomi had finalized the acquisition of a struggling hospitality management firm. Quietly, strategically, methodically, the firm happened to oversee multiple high-end restaurants across the city, including the Grand Meridian. But no one inside that restaurant knew that yet. Naomi stepped forward and gave her name. Olivia's smile faltered for half a second. Her eyes scanned Naomi quickly. Purple dress, no visible luxury bag, baby in arms. Her mind made assumptions. She tapped on the tablet slowly. "I don't see your reservation," she said sharply. Naomi remained calm. She confirmed the time and name again. Olivia's jaw tightened. There it was. The reservation existed. Prime seating. But something in Olivia resisted. A mother with a baby didn't fit the polished aesthetic of the night. She imagined crying disrupting wine toasts. She imagined wealthy donors complaining. And deeper than that, something uglier stirred. A prejudice she'd absorbed her whole life. She leaned closer and said there must have been a mistake. The baby shifted slightly, letting out a soft coo. Guests nearby turned subtly. Olivia felt eyes on her. She felt control slipping. And she hated that feeling. Naomi didn't argue. She didn't raise her voice. She simply stood her ground. She knew exactly where she was. She knew exactly why she had come. But Olivia's tone grew sharper. She suggested the restaurant wasn't family-friendly at this hour. She suggested Naomi might be more comfortable elsewhere. She offered to call around, to find something more suitable. The implication was clear. You don't belong here. Whispers began rippling across the dining room. One of the officers near the entrance shifted in his seat, observing. Naomi adjusted her baby gently. Her daughter, Ava, blinked wide-eyed under chandelier light. Unaware of the storm building around her, Naomi finally requested to speak to the manager. Olivia bristled. She was the authority at the front. Challenging her felt like public humiliation. Her voice rose. She accused Naomi of causing a disturbance. Heads turned fully now. A businessman at table 6 discreetly started recording. Naomi repeated calmly that she had a reservation. That's when Olivia made the mistake. She stepped closer, invading Naomi's space, her hand gripping Naomi's forearm as if to physically guide her toward the door. Naomi pulled back instinctively to protect her baby, and in that split second, fueled by ego, fear of losing face, and buried prejudice, Olivia's open hand struck Naomi's cheek. The sound echoed. A baby cried. Wine glasses froze midair. The entire restaurant went silent. Even the piano stopped. Naomi's face turned slightly from the force. She steadied herself instantly, clutching Ava protectively. But she did not cry. She did not yell. She looked directly at Olivia. And in her calm, there was something terrifying. Olivia realized too late what she had done. The officers near the bar stood up. Guests murmured. Someone whispered, "Did she just hit her?" Phones were now clearly raised. The manager rushed from the back hallway, alarmed. Olivia tried to speak first. She accused Naomi of resisting. She claimed she felt threatened. But multiple voices contradicted her. A server had seen everything. A guest replayed a video showing the slap clearly. The manager's face drained of color. Still, Naomi said very little. Instead, she shifted Ava onto one arm and calmly reached into her purse with the other. She pulled out her phone, and she made one call, not to the police, not to her husband, but to the corporate executive board of Meridian Hospitality Group, the very company that now owned this establishment. She calmly stated her name. She stated her location. She stated what had happened, and she requested immediate intervention. The manager overheard the name. His eyes widened. Because earlier that week, corporate had sent an email announcing a new majority shareholder, a woman named Naomi Carter. He hadn't connected the dots. Until now, within 15 minutes, the restaurant was no longer buzzing with polite conversation. It was buzzing with panic. The regional director arrived faster than anyone thought possible. He walked in briskly, face tight, eyes scanning. When he saw Naomi, he immediately recognized her from investor briefings. He approached her respectfully. He apologized, publicly, in front of the entire dining room. Olivia stood frozen, pale, trembling. The director asked for a full account. Multiple guests stepped forward. Videos were shown. Clear footage of the slap, of the aggression, of the false accusations. The officers confirmed what they witnessed. The narrative Olivia tried to spin collapsed in seconds. The director turned to her slowly, and in front of everyone, donors, politicians, officers, diners, he informed her that her employment was terminated effective immediately. Security escorted her toward the back. Her green blazer no longer symbolized control. It symbolized disgrace. The room exhaled. But Naomi wasn't finished. She asked that the restaurant implement mandatory bias training. She asked that a formal public apology be issued. She asked that staff be educated on respectful customer engagement, not for revenge, for change, because she wasn't there to destroy a business. She was there to rebuild standards. The dining room watched a powerful shift happen in real time. The woman they underestimated was the one holding ownership power, and yet she handled it with composure, not arrogance, not cruelty, just accountability. Naomi was finally seated at the table she had reserved. Not because of fear, but because it was hers. The staff moved carefully now, not out of panic, but awareness. Some approached her quietly to apologize. She accepted with grace. Ava had stopped crying, now peacefully resting against her mother's shoulder. The piano resumed, but the atmosphere had changed. Guests whispered about what they had witnessed. Some felt ashamed for staying silent initially. Others felt empowered for speaking up. By the next morning, videos had circulated online. The incident sparked conversations across the city about bias in upscale establishments, about assumptions made at doors, about who gets welcomed warmly and who gets scrutinized. Meridian Hospitality Group released a formal statement condemning discrimination and announcing new diversity initiatives. Olivia's career in high-end hospitality ended that night. But for Naomi, it wasn't about revenge. It was about legacy, because her daughter had been in her arms when it happened. And she refused to let Ava grow up believing silence was strength. Strength, Naomi knew, was calm accountability. Strength was knowing your worth without screaming it. Strength was changing systems without losing your humanity. The Grand Meridian continued operating, but its culture shifted. Employees were retrained. Policies were updated. And the story of that night became part company orientation, a reminder of what bias looks like when unchecked, and what dignity looks like under pressure. Because sometimes injustice happens in rooms filled with chandeliers and crystal. Sometimes prejudice hides behind tailored suits and polished smiles. But sometimes one calm phone call is enough to expose it all. If this story moved you, if it reminded you that dignity speaks louder than hate, make sure you like, share, comment, and subscribe to Black Legacy. Because stories like this don't just entertain. They awaken. And awareness is power.